Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be discussing a potentially extremely concerning pattern that could be setting up into the, well, I guess first the western United States and then sliding eastward into the central and then Midwest and into eventually the eastern United States. So this is regarding the heat, this extreme pattern, and I want to show you what what the latest developments are about this and why this could be as concerning as I'm saying it could be. So before we do that, I do want to say that if you are new to this channel, hello and welcome. I do stuff about the weather in the fall and winter. I focus more on like winter storms and long range kind of, I guess, patterns, but mainly I'm just a hobbyist enthusiast. This is just more speculative, this type of stuff, especially when it comes to, you know, these heat waves that are a bit further out. But I like to give people, I guess, notice ahead of time. And honestly, the way things have been looking this past summer, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, we get what the models are showing, which is it is pretty concerning. So I want to start off by showing you this Climate Prediction Center 8 to 14 day outlook, and it's within literally 8 to 14 days, right? August 1st through the 7th, and you can see this is what they're showing. This is their, I guess, the probability of it being above average. So this is not the degree of how warm it is. This is how confident they are in it being warmer. So I guess you can argue that where they are confident it being the warmest will be the warmest because I guess the warmer it is, the less likely it is for it to be cooler. But notice that epicenter is centered across the central United States. So around this time frame, this is what the pattern will kind of average out to look like. And in terms of the precip, you can see a bit wetter across the west and various other dry spots across the central United States and a bit wetter towards the south and east. 6 to 10 days out, so this is a bit less further out. This still eclipses last days of July and into the early August. And you can see that it is warm across several areas, but I guess the epicenter of where they're most confident it could be warm is across the west and northwest. So if you notice, you know, this thing shifts within that within those few days. And if you were to go even further out, to which they don't have one that goes out, you know, I guess 15 to 20 days would be the next one. They would be probably across somewhere across the northeast. Maybe not to the same, I guess, confidence because it is further out, but definitely. That's the progression of this pattern. It starts off west and eventually goes out further east. So, by the way, I do want to say, if you live across the Midwest this weekend, you're watching this, you may be like, "What? It is very nice. We have 70s right here, right? What is this guy talking about?" And yes, this week will be very nice for a good portion of the United States. Actually, a very good portion of the United States will be very nice and chilly. I wouldn't say chilly, just very pleasant for late July, and you can see where it is warm, it's not too terribly bad. But I don't, want to ignore the inevitable. Right here, as you see, as we enter, I guess, the early Tuesday and into Wednesday, what we do start seeing is heat building up across the northwest. Now, these are some pretty strong temperature anomalies. In fact, some of these areas will be seeing warmer temperatures than, they will be across, I guess, the southern Midwest, where it could, usually it is a lot warmer. You could see 1 p.m., so this is kind of like a daytime highs, if you will, 70. So again, very nice week ahead for the Midwest and Northeast. Warmer across the south, but look right here. I mean, Seattle potentially 95. That is very warm for Seattle. May not sound like it, but it definitely is. Let's go back to the anomalies, and let's continue showing this forward. So this thing continues building with this warmth, and the cool air does continue circulating into the central United States, but it's kind of, I guess, on its last legs at this point, Friday, and you can see it's still affecting a good portion of the United States. That's very nice for those folks. But you'll want this. You'll want to enjoy this because what comes next, according to many models, is a bit chaotic. So notice we have very nice cool weather. This heat here is still very intense at this point, early Saturday now and into Sunday of this upcoming weekend. And look, it starts spreading towards the central United States, right? You can see that there are some cool spotches. That's where basically monsoons occur and where thunderstorm, I guess, bringing some cold outflows and a little bit of cloud cover. But overall, very warm pattern. And this kind of shifts into the plains by about a week from now, 7 days out. And notice that it still stays warm across the west. It's just that this extreme anomaly, I guess, it shrinks in size and shifts towards the Midwest. But look, as I run this through next week, look what we start seeing across the central United States. These anomalies that are extremely, extremely strong. So this may not be a massive area of heat. It is honestly pretty darn sizable, but just the amount of, I guess, warmth compared to average, this is almost off the charts. And if you're to take a look at, what the thermometer could be reading at Minneapolis, 110, 113, I'm not sure. Obviously, this is far out, so, this is just a possibility. The models definitely are indicating this, though. And again, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for a very warm period here. How warm it remains to be seen, but the models are giving a little bit of a clue that some of these temperatures, I don't know how, what's the record high in Minneapolis, but I can't really, I won't be able to, or I won't believe it if it's, much higher than what this thing shows right there. And obviously this is the probably worst case scenario, but definitely a possibility, as this isn't just like a random model. This is the GFS, and it's been showing this for several days now, and this isn't just the first time it's showing. And notice as I put this forward, this thing's stubborn. Michigan right there, Canada, extremely warm. So again, northern Michigan usually, pretty chilly, can have pretty warm days in the summer. If you take a look at the thermometer, 106, that's pretty ridiculous, and actually very concerning. Notice as I put this forward into already 300 at this point, this thing stays stuck, and now it moves even further north, intensifies. So just several, maybe up to even a week of just hundreds across the Midwest and Eastern United States. It's a possibility, clearly, according to these models. Later on, you can see that there's some sort of a pattern flip, not necessarily getting much colder, just maybe I guess the intensity of the heat dying down. But you can see this does even affect areas like the Northeast, with again probably hundreds as well. But again, this seems like the epicenter of this will be the plains, portions of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, and kind of, again, where the Climate Prediction Center has the highest confidence across the United States. So let's take a look at now what other models are showing. So the European model, this one only goes out to 240 hours. So that's, I guess, when that GFS starts taking that heat from the northwest and shifting it towards the east. So we won't really see what the European shows across the Midwest, but let's see what it shows, at least with that heat through this part of the week across the Midwest and Northeast. Again, it shows that very very cool pattern, very cool here. Again, that's going to be really nice, and definitely something you guys should enjoy before this thing, which you can see the European is pretty much agreeing with the GFS on, especially almost the intensity of that thing is really on par with what the GFS is showing. So this leaves me to believe that, if this were to shift further eastward, just like the GFS shows, the hundreds, widespread hundreds we saw across, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Wisconsin, that could definitely happen. And I guess the European is showing that those anomalies are definitely capable of being formed. Now, notice that the European, I guess, staves off some of the worst heat. Notice, if you recall, at this point, the GFS started showing that transition into the central United States. The European does show heat, and you can see it is starting to bulge out more and more into the Dakotas and whatnot, but it still stays a bit more centered here. Now, whether or not that's going to be the case, and the worst of it stays across the west, or maybe it's just slower, the European in general, so once it does come out, it will take even longer to kind of push through the rest of the country. It remains to be seen, but overall, the confidence of a prolonged period of heat, again, to what intensity remains a question, but a prolonged period of heat across, not this week, but, well, starting across the Northwest this week, shifting into the central and eastern United States next week, it's pretty darn high. So this is a ensemble. These are many models kind of overlaid on top of each other to see what their general image is, and obviously you can see they have pretty good confidence that it will be warm this week across the Northwest. Same thing with that chilliness. Notice we could see quite a bit of cool weather across the central United States, but what they do start showing is that shift. Notice that cool air pretty much gets dispersed, and we do start seeing some of those very strong highs. For a ensemble to be 246 hours out showing such a strong anomaly is rather rare. And what this does mean is that the confidence, they're pretty sure that this thing will be occurring. And I guess what we could take away from that is that this isn't just some sort of fluke, from one model. And you can see that they keep that there for a while. Now, how long it remains to be seen, but you can see the epicenter across Iowa, I guess the corn state, right? So this isn't necessarily good if there's not a lot of rain and all this heat. That could definitely plunge these areas into a drought very quickly. And notice that they keep the heat across that area in the long range. In terms of, you know, accumulated precip, that's pretty relevant because of, you know, if you have such high, strong heat, you would want a lot of rain. And you can see that for the most part, the strongest precipitation stays further towards the south of this area where the strongest heat will be. There could be some rain, again, but at that point, even some rain won't really do much when you have such a ridiculous, I mean, high temperatures. The European, you know, across the west was showing some pretty strong anomalies, again. Right, so this is moderately above average. That isn't anything crazy, 90s. But look across the west, that is very, very hot. A lot of these areas, I mean, Salt Lake City right there, almost 100 degrees. You know, that is definitely warm. And notice that it starts shifting out further towards the west, 103 across much of Montana into the Dakotas. Again, I think the European will follow that GFS trend. Let me just show you some of these highs. I mean, that is just ridiculous. Let me zoom in on the north central United States. You know, this will quickly just potentially morph into some sort of a bad situation. And just for reference, here in the Chicagoland area, last time we had a official 100-degree high at the O'Hare Airport was 2012, which again is you know, that's been almost what, yeah, 10 years. So we don't get them too often here. And you know, if this pattern were to come to fruition at the intensity which the GFS shows, we could have up to 4 to 5 days of just hundreds, maybe even 6. So that would be very, very, very bad, obviously for many reasons. But we'll just have to wait and see whether or not that actually does come to fruition. And even if it's not, you know, hundreds, it will at least, if the intensity isn't as strong, I do believe that there will be warmth here in a similar fashion. But even if you just have like 95, 96, that is still, you know, very, very warm. And that could definitely not be a good thing. So we'll have to wait and see. Notice the GFS in the future kind of slides this further south down, but I mean, it still keeps a pretty hot air dome around, so we have to see what it does with that in the future. But yeah, definitely not, I guess, the most positive news in terms of that. You know, the heat waves have been bad, pretty bad this year. It does seem like they will get, I guess, worse, or, you know, at least stay in a similar intensity level. I could show you the Canadian. I don't really like this model too much. It doesn't really do a good job with usually with temperatures, but let's just see if it shows the similar trends. And notice that there is that cool air here for this part of the week, warm air across the northwest. That warm air across the northwest is definitely very warm according to the Canadian, probably a bit warmer than what I would say it's going to be in reality. But notice by late July, really into beginning August, this cool weather here kind of goes away and we start seeing heat. So again, if you live across the Corn Belt area, you know, I mean, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, even portions of the South, Oklahoma, Arkansas, there will be a couple days this week of pretty nice weather, if not the whole week for certain areas. So, you know, I guess that's, if you have any outdoors projects, I would probably finish them out, you know, now if they can be finished soon. And of course, because later on, you know, I mean, if you want to work in triple-digit heat doing things you could have done when it was 80, you'd probably start regretting it about then, right around, you know, that time. So that is something I just want to say. And again, you don't even need hundreds for this to be a, you know, pattern that is kind of anomalous. You just need upper 90s, and you know that's still really much of the same story. It's not like if it becomes 10 times hotter once it reaches the triple digits, though it may seem like it should, but it doesn't. And yeah, you can see that the short range model, like the NAM 12KM, only goes out to 84 hours. So what they are capable of showing us is that cool weather diving across the Midwest this week. But look at that, very anomalous air mass across the Northwest, producing some pretty ridiculous highs right there. And this is during the night, 1 a.m. minus a few hours around 11 o'clock in the evening. And some of these temperatures are, you know, I mean, that's sometimes how warm they get during the day, let alone during the night. So definitely not good. That is basically it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all on the next episode. That is it for today. See ya. Bye.